Hi, I'm Andrea Goeglein, and today we're going to have a conversation, Ilona and I, who I'm going to introduce you to in a moment, about how at different stages of life, you begin to break things down and say, learn that. What do I want to learn or teach next? So I want you to know that today's conversation is honestly, it may be between her and I, but it's honestly about you. I want you to sit back as you listen to us, listen to our stories, and start thinking about your own story of career and life transition. And then I'm going to give you a very quick intro to how I met Ilona, because I want to dispel from the onset that any possibility that the work she's doing today is not of great career value. So here's the gig. There's an organization in my community called the Global Gaming Women, and they do webinars. And an attorney with that organization offered a webinar where we got to meet Ilona and the work that she does. Well, you will see the credibility of her work in the organization could not have been higher. I immediately booked an appointment with her to start my process of understanding where I was in my career at this moment because of the work. Now, do you want to know what she does? Ilona, number one, I'm always going to screw up your last name. It's Papalana?
Pamplona.
Pamplona. Okay. Now, I've given them my shtick as to who you are. You tell us who you are.
Thank you, Andrea. Well, I am Ilona Pamplona. That's the name I go by. And I'm an astrology informed life coach. I'm an author. And I came from almost 15 years of higher education background before doing this transition. And I used to help students figure out what they wanted to do with their life by helping them get into college. But now I use astrology, human design, other modalities, other tools to help adults figure out what they're doing with their lives and help them feel confident moving forward.
Yeah. Now I'll go back to my intro again. I want you to really think about the fact that highly credible organizations. Now I'm going to say, it's a women's organization. We are more open because we tend to take in information from so many different areas that in fact, maybe that like that group would have been more open anyway, but these are solidly corporate professional group of people who understood that your grounding in one aspect of your career could inform the more esoteric way of reading information, because we hear from many different things. So life transitions. I'm at the later end. I can't even say it. Later end. My ageless edge definitely shows up, and I want you to know that when you're at my point in the world, you get to do things like wear your school colors. And just as a little commercial, Nevada State University, where I am a trustee, is having a Scorpion Give on April 30th. I don't know when you're going to see this, and it doesn't matter. Go to their website and give them some money anyway. But it's things like that. 30 years ago, I would not have shown up on something that was going to be recorded with school colors on. Wouldn't have happened. And I believe that's a great segue for you to help us understand how your work today can help us in our careers and otherwise.
Oh, well, it's so interesting because so many things come up based on hearing that story, right? Like in life, there are so many stories and so many concepts that we create about who we are and what we're supposed to do and what we're supposed to achieve. And even though inside we're like, well, but I really don't want to do that. I really want to be this kind of person. I really want to experience this kind of lifestyle. And there are all these things, these filters that, in the coaching world, we call them stories we tell ourselves, and some people call it filters, but all of us in human design, for example, they call it conditioning. There are all these things that we've like layered on top of our lives to say, oh, I can't be that person because I'm this person. And I grew up with astrology. I joke that I grew up with a Colombian dad who was Catholic and an Ecuadorian mom who was spiritually fluid. And so I
I
thought that
like that
every,
term, spiritually fluid.
oh
Okay.
yeah, she had a baby Jesus in her altar, but she had a Kuan Yin and a Ganesh and a Buddha. She's like, it's all energy.
She was covering all the bases.
Yeah. And her belief was if it's all good energy, it can be here. And
Yep.
so in my head, my exposure was, well, we feed good energy and it doesn't matter what kind of shape or name it takes. And so when I got older and started going to school and realizing that my classmates didn't have that experience, I I put this filter. I'm like, well, I can only talk about this at home because we don't do that outside. People don't understand that outside. And so growing, our lives, our childhoods, our adulthoods, our education, our social status are all these filters that we use to not be the people we want to be.
I'm going to ask you to pause there for a moment because I just realized I had told this story yesterday at a business lunch. There's this thing called Mercury retrograde that we've just come out of. Okay. And now it's on the news all the time. And so there was owners of a business and one of the other organizations, KMPR, that I'm associated with. And we were talking about, I asked the question, do you know anything about astrology? And I said my evolution to astrology came from being a little girl and reading Cosmopolitan magazine and wanting to be told when I'm going to fall in love, to the very next leap. I was married in my 20s, and one of the most successful franchisees of Holiday Inns at the time in Hong Kong owned an entire square block of Hong Kong in 1980. I have no clue for a compound for his family. So you get the wealth I may be suggesting. He asked if he could have his Hindi priest do, if they could have our birth information. And months later, these books came to us in scratchy, it took a long time to understand. But once again, business and very economically successful business opened up how I looked at who I was and why I am here. And, he was also brought up in an environment in India. He was born into the caste system. So these mechanisms of informing who we are and where we're supposed to be, if they are done good, I think that's the point your mother brought out. If they're done with goodness.
That is, first of all, I have chills,
Yes.
because it also made me think of the JP Morgan quote: millionaires don't use astrologers, billionaires do. He said this, right? And so, and in the public eye right now, in the, down with capitalism, these people are like, he's a bad person, but he took a tool that was neutral and he
Yes.
understood how to implement it in his life in a way that changed his life,
Right.
right? And it brings me back to my education. So if you go further
Yeah.
back, I'm actually a language major. I was a Spanish, Italian double major, Portuguese minor, took French and German as electives. And one of the things that I learned in a bilingualism course is language is neutral. But that made me think any tool is neutral, right? We humans give it a meaning. It's good, it's
Yes.
bad, it's wrong, it's right. Astrology is a tool. Literature is a tool. Education is a tool. Anything is a tool. Anything that's a tool is neutral. It is the user
Yes.
that creates output that is perceived good or bad. So if you're not getting the results you want, this is feedback that you didn't use it properly,
Yeah.
rather than it being good
I
or bad.
I will add that in my dissertation, which was on the moral development of transformational CEOs, the term charisma, which will be
Mm,
assigned to people, like Hitler, that he had charisma, that's how come he could. And others, of course, but charisma is a neutral term. It is how the person interacts with that charisma. Does it become manipulative or does it bring up to a greater good? It's all charisma.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and nothing is good, nothing is bad. These are tools. and they're all
Exactly.
tools that teach us.
Oh, so tell us about, inform everyone what I've been playing with you.
With the human design and the astrology.
Yes. And
So,
you're coaching it and how you do that.
so it's interesting because I was in higher education for a very long time, and then my dad passed away unexpectedly in my first semester of a master's program, which is I was getting a coaching master's. It had a health and wellness focus, but it's just a life coaching
Right.
master's is how I say it. And I just remember this moment that I had to take on sample clients to get the hours to get the degree. And there were just moments where my clients were saying things, and in my head, because I grew up with a mother who listened to astrology every single day, like literally, we had a Puerto Rican astrologer we would listen to on the radio and then on TV. And I noticed astrology is patterns, or cycles, and their patterns. From a behavioral perspective, they're patterns
Mm,
of behavior that you can
okay.
become aware of and lean
Okay.
into or shift. And I would have clients, and I would just think this person has a Taurus moon or they're an Aries sun, and I
Oh.
would ask, do you mind, like kind of like the business person in Hong Kong, do
Mm-hmm.
you mind if while we're in the
Yep.
coaching container, I bring forth information that I see as a pattern to see if we can shift out of what's blocking your awareness? Because coaches are not supposed to tell you what to do. They ask
Right.
questions, they hold space, and they let you figure it out.
I know
And
this.
some clients are not vulnerable enough just to
Mm,
really look at themselves. We have not been conditioned to really look at ourselves
mhm.
honestly with compassion so that we can really see when we're in our shadow. And the moment I would bring up astrology and say, do you suffer from this pattern of behavior? And they'd be like, how do you know? And I'm like,
Ooh,
well, you happen to have these placements. And they're like, there's no way you could have known that. And I'm like, well, yes, there's actually a very
there is a way.
tangible system of the stars from our ancestors that tells us you have a way of being, whether you like it or not. And the shift can only happen when you're aware that you have that way of being.
And now I'm going to ask you to pause again, because a lot of people don't watch the whole video
Yeah.
of this conversation. So I want to ask you now to tell people how they can get in touch with you. And I'll ask again at the end, but in case they want to hurry up and go and book,
Sounds good. The easiest way is my website, ilonapamplona.com.
which I
Also
will
on
have in
Instagram.
the text below.
And on Instagram, which is the same handle, Ilona Pamplona, no underscores, no period. It's just Ilona Pamplona. I try to
Okay.
keep it simple.
Okay, good. Now we can go on.
So what I found is that, some people get very wary of astrology and these things because they think they're going to be told to do something that they don't want to do. But no, this is a pattern. It opens up the conversation, right?
Mhm.
Coaching requires the client to really open up about what's happening so we can see the patterns. And I found that astrology was my first tool of saying, aha, when a client is not opening up, we could use this. And then they start talking, and then they start telling me everything they haven't told me, and then they start like all the mind-blowing experiences happen because they can actually see it because they didn't want to see it. And
Right.
then I discovered human design, which has a lot of spiritual influences. It has the I Ching, the Kabbalah, the astrology, it has the chakra system, and it doesn't necessarily always, it's not really brought to use for personality the way astrology is. It's really telling
Right.
us, how does our energy work when I'm with someone? If I have a specific aura type, how is my energy showing up? How does it impact others? How do other people impact me? And bringing that in added a new layer of self-awareness. So
Mhm.
astrology literally means astrologos, the story of the stars. It's Greek for speech of the stars. So
Okay.
astrology tells us the story of your life. Human design tells us how your energy works in the quantum field. And then Gene Keys is one of the newer tools that everyone's really
Yes.
excited about because it takes all of this stuff and then it helps us contemplate. It's a contemplation. It helps us really reflect deep in what we're understanding from these tools about ourselves. So all of it is the unraveling of awareness so that we can create this life that we want to live. It shows us what's in the way and what are the gifts that we have and what are the stories we're telling ourselves so we can step into the actual life we came here to live.
So here's a great thing that I want to, so we're talking about, stepping in and getting this information. Let me be very clear. I first was introduced to human design in 1999. When the person did a reading, and they asked if they could do a reading for me because they were learning the information. And
Right.
since I, by this time, had the astrology thing done, I thought, oh, this would be fun. I thought this woman had lost her mind, what she was telling me. I've subsequently learned those were my blocks because what happened was almost 11 years later, I found the cassette, played it. And by the time that 11 years had transpired, things that had caused me grave challenges in my work had shown up because of what she said behaviorally or energetically I do that maybe I don't want to do, that it actually blocks my ability when I do it, like forcing things to happen because I can persevere. And no matter how many signs I get that I should stop forcing this to happen. Well, we need to appreciate that you may have this system that you work with
Yeah.
that is informed numerically in many different ways. And and all of you out there may be really resistant to what you point out because it will look, as you started out, the mask. We've worn our masks so long, we think it's us. I still have pictures of me in the bow tie shirts that I wore in my career early on.
Oh my
I
gosh.
mean, there were uniforms you were told to put on.
Yeah.
And it is important, I think, to appreciate that you may have really good information because you're not making it up. Like you are using a system.
Right. Oh, yeah. And that's been, I have to thank my coaching background because that's one of the things you
Yes,
learn that these experiences are not about me. They're about the person receiving the message. And so,
right.
I find sometimes people get very, will come out of a reading, a practitioner will be like, oh, they didn't like this. I'm like, no, no, no. You don't have to edit your message. If you
Right.
know what you're saying, it's up to the client. This is exactly the shadow work. This is the blind spot that the client needs to hear. They get to process that in their own time, but it's not about you being wrong. It's about them not ready to receive. And that's a separate situation. This is also why I record my sessions.
Yeah.
Andrea, I've had people who come back 4 years later and be like, I didn't react during our session because I just wasn't in the place and I'm listening now. And now I know how to use this. And I'm like, great, this is exactly why I recorded it because I know that I'm not attached. I'm a messenger.
Right.
I am not the message. I am not.
Exactly. I mean, it took me 11 years. I was a little slower student. What is
Yeah.
this woman saying? And oh my gosh, yeah, that's great. And I think that adds for me credibility when someone is willing to have their work recorded
Mm,
because it does allow people to come back and say yes to this, no to that, yes to this, no to that, because that speaks to the fact that you're just presenting information.
mhm.
They have to really examine, is this who I am or want to be?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a
It's,
choice.
yeah,
And that's the job, right? That's another belief I hold as a coach. Everything life is a choice. And this also brings us back to this neutrality of nothing being right or wrong.
right.
Sometimes we make a choice, but we didn't commit to the choice. And then we're like, I should have done the other thing. But it's like when you make a choice and you make a sacred contract and really commit and say, I'm going to see this choice through, then you can actually see if there were results or not. And if it doesn't work, it's not the choice that was wrong. It's like, okay, maybe there were pieces that I get to readjust. What is your level of commitment
Right.
to this life that you want to be? And are you committed to like seeing it through regardless?
Yes. Yes to all of the above. What else would you like to tell us?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I feel like we can talk
We
about all
could.
of this forever and ever, but I mean, for me, it's also really interesting. One of the things that comes up for me for with human design is that the creator, who was known as Rahu, didn't believe in free will, but I'm very much a believer of free will. And so this is how we begin to navigate and play with understanding the tools for ourselves, right? Just
Right.
as like you said, a client can do a reading, be like, I choose this, I don't choose this. we can navigate the tools. We don't, a lot of the times we hold these tools to such rigid interpretations and like experiences, and it's like, I believe in free will. In fact, I believe that this tells me how I can express my
Yeah.
free will. I came designed a certain way, and I could choose how to navigate that based on what I understand. And there are people who truly believe there's no choice, right? And
Right.
I don't think that's wrong or right. I just go, great, you believe no choice, I believe I have choice. Either way, we're going to live the life we came here to live.
Yes. Absolutely. So I know that you're, and this will be the last topic. I know that you're expanding your own learning at this moment.
Yes. Yes.
Fill
I
us in on
am
that.
I'm in the middle of a training with an organization out in the UK and Europe, and it's called the Genius Report training. And it takes human design, and it kind of strips away the more what people call the woo-woo aspects of it.
I
And
call it esoteric.
yeah, the esoteric aspects, even though it's esoterically the foundations are
Right.
esoteric, it puts it into everyday terms. And that's one of my favorite things, right? Like, okay, we can know all this esoteric information, which is ultimately linguistically means hidden knowledge. But what's the point of bringing hidden knowledge into the light if people cannot actually absorb and use it? And so they are doing an excellent job of taking these tools and saying, hey, this is how in a workplace or a group organizational
Right.
environment
It's got a much
it
more
can function.
corporate focus
Yes.
to the language of the information.
So
Is
that you
my
can actually
takeaway.
be a human in the real world, because the
Yes.
truth is we're in a world where most of us have to have some kind of job or interact in some kind of official way. And so
Yes.
instead of being like, okay, Andrea, you're a projector, which means you have a penetrating aura, we're gonna be like, hey, Andrea, you have your aura is the coordinator. Your job is to bring, like, to show the group the way. You're a guide and a coordinator. I'm a manifestor aura, which it's so funny. So people get so I have a book coming out in the fall on human design, very basic book. And one of the things that I feel committed is dispelling aura envy, because human design is how does your aura work. And as a manifestor, people go, oh, of course you're a manifestor aura, whatever. I would, and I'm like, manifestor aura doesn't mean I'm the only one who manifests. It means literally what it means is my aura is closed and repelling, and I have to literally do things. I have to get things started. If I want something done, I need to get it done. Whereas the generator aura is about feeling out what they need to do, right?
Mhm.
And trusting that gut instinct. And so when we understand, so me, I'm the initiator. So in this system, I'm not a manifestor, I'm an initiator. I'm gonna say,
Yeah.
hey guys, I have an idea. I'm gonna bring in someone like Andrea to be like, Andrea, I need you to help me coordinate this, and I need some team players to get the work done, and I need some mover and shakers to see, what where the shortcuts are and where we get to really get some expertise. We have experts in the group as well.
Right.
And so when we understand that our aura has a specific function,
Yep.
we also stop judging, right? Like, I used to think as a young person, I would see people like do soccer and theater and court, and like they do all these things. I'm like, I only have energy for one, because I didn't come here to do all the things and play in all the teams. I came to
Yep.
initiate the thing I came to initiate. And so I honored my aura. I stopped envying other
Yes.
people. I started really stepping into my role in groups and in my life.
And so this is a great place for me to sum up around this. Know that the greatest block that I had from the information in 99 was the fact that it was talking about me being as a projector and my external vision and what I was being told, because I have such a big personality, that I was a leader. No, my role and where I find my greatest love, and in my consulting all along, when I love pushing the whole world forward,
Mm-hmm.
and just the nuance of understanding that. And when I kept, the reason positive psychology shifted my work so much was something that was said back in that reading that I didn't get, that I am not positive because I'm a polyander. I'm positive because, in fact, for me to be around negative people, since I am a projector, it sucks the energy out of me differently than it would be a manifester or somebody
Right.
else. So,
I would block it.
yes. And what is good? is that there are ways to hear about who we are and how we can succeed easier with more fluid energy and produce better outcomes, not only for ourselves, but the communities we live in, are seated directly in information like you teach.
Yes.
So I want to thank you for being with me today. Again, remind everyone, if they made it to the end, how to find you.
IlonaPamplona.com or at Instagram handle at Ilona Pamplona.
And it will be below. And of course, give money to Nevada State for their Scorpion Give. I am Andrea Goeglein. Ilona, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I know that this will help someone somewhere, and that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Please subscribe. Please keep coming back. Leave respectful comments. And I'll see you at the next conversation. Thank you.